Just because you haven't seen a ghost, it doesn't mean they haven't seen you. This is Jamaica Inn. Hello and welcome to another video, and this one's a little bit different because it's not in my local area and it's Jamaica Inn down in Cornwall. First of all, I just want to say thank you for all the new subscriptions and just remind you to hit the bell so you know when the next video is coming up. And again, it's been amazing the support. On this video, I want to ask you your opinions. If you've been to Jamaica Inn, I want you to comment below what your experience is, because this is a place that I've known of for many years, and when I started getting interested into the paranormal side of it all, these stories were sort of the first ones I sort of read. I was familiar with the book by Daphne du Maurier, and I think that is what obviously triggered all the interest in Jamaica Inn. It's a great book, and it went on to be also a TV show and a film that was actually directed by Alfred Hitchcock. So the area has got a lot of history with smugglers, and that is what entails a lot of these ghost stories around. So Jamaica Inn is on the A30 just as you come into Cornwall and you're heading down towards Bodmin Moor. Of course, we know a lot about Bodmin Moor with the beasts of Bodmin and all those sort of tales around it, but the Jamaica Inn is on a plot of land that wasn't actually even built on till 1776. This is disputed by a few people, but I am led to believe under land registry there was nothing on that site, and two retired sailors built this inn there, and it was a great midway point between there and say Tintagel and going across the country, and offered a little safe route for smugglers that would bring their stuff up from Cornwall going up into the other areas. And it was one of these places where a lot of skullduggery was meant to take place and all this sort of stuff. But surprisingly, we don't get any ghost reports till 1911. And this is why this video is a bit different, because although it's paranormal, we're going to talk about the paranormal side of it all, it's intrigued me, and to see this as a bit of a different video to what we normally do. But there is a reason why I want to cover this, is because it's a little bit different, and some of the things, like the first report we've got there happened in 1911, and it makes you wonder why ghosts weren't reported before that. Now this ghost story made it into the local news and the local newspapers, and this was that a gentleman was sitting on the wall outside the inn, and people would come along and try and have a conversation with him, and he blanked them. And he was dressed very, very strangely in really old-fashioned clothing. Now, this wasn't just one or two people. This quite a few people over a period of time had tried to speak to this gentleman, and then vanished. And he vanished in front of them as well. Now, they went to the newspapers and reported this, and they printed it and made the news, and that's their first documented case. 1776, the Jamaica Inn was built. That's a long time ago. What changed from then to only have these reports coming out now? Was it our interest in media, as something came out in the newspapers that made people more aware of it? Surely people would have reported things before then, but this was our first documented report. So why is Jamaica Inn even associated with ghosts? Well, it's because it's an important trading point, well, stopping point, a coaching, that was used by smugglers. They would come across all over from Cornwall, and being based on the moor, it offered a safe passage away from the King's men and with all their smuggled goods. And a lot of trading used to go on around that coaching. Now, obviously, with smugglers, I'm sure there's some skullduggery. We don't really have many reports of people losing their life at the inn. The inn became really, really famous after a book by Daphne du Maurier, where she based it on the old tales that she was told by a vicar when she stayed there. Now, she stayed there twice. On the first time she stayed there, her and a friend got lost out in the moors, and the fog come in and the mist come in. And what they done, they let their horses go and followed the horses back to the inn, and that's how they returned safely. The year later, she come back, wrote a load of stories after meeting the vicar, who told all the tales of all the smugglers. Now, again, you've got these smuggling stories. I'm sure that half of them are fictional, but there's solid base. This was a real coaching inn where a lot of probably nasty people did hang out. So one of the ghosts, or ex-smuggler that still hasn't left the inn, is a gentleman in a tricorn hat, a black beard, a black sort of coat and high boots. He's often seen along the corridors or outside room 5, and sometimes they think he's the shadow that's seen in bathroom 6. Pub is split into 2 parts, the new part and the old part. I've actually been there and we stayed in the new part, but something strange did happen, and we'll come to that in a minute. But the gentleman in the tricorn hat, he's seen probably one of the most common reports of a ghost there. And it's often that he's seen walking around, pacing around the bedrooms, seen standing in the corner of a bedroom, observing people while they sleep. And on some occasions, people have said that they've felt him tickle their ankles, which is a rather strange thing for a ghost to do, but each to their own. Now, I do want to talk about room 3. And the reason I want to talk about room 3 is that I've personally spoken to people that have stayed in room 3 that have had a bit of an experience there. And one of them was a sobbing lady, but they woke up in the night and they see a lady crying in the corner of their room. Now, first of all, they thought someone got into their room and they were standing over there, and maybe one of the maids or workers wasn't aware that the room was taken and had come in there to have a bit of a breakdown. The lady sat up in her bed and looked over. She was startled, but she was convinced it was a real person. She got out of the bed and walked over there, and the sobbing was quite loud. As she got to the corner where the lady was, the lady disappeared. Now, obviously, this was quite shocking to the lady, but when she mentioned it to the staff at the inn, the staff knew about this and they'd had reports of this lady before. Now, the other one on that room, I haven't heard from somebody personally, but I have heard that children's footsteps are heard running around the area and around the bed. One of the other things that the maids say is that often they go into that room and there's children's handprints on the mirrors, and they wipe them off, and the next day they're back there, and the same, it goes on and on and on, and then it'll go a period of time where the handprints don't appear, and then they'll start again. And they can't be adults' prints. They said they are definitely children's handprints. Now, this is, to be honest, right, there's a lot better videos on the internet than mine on Jamaica Inn. I'm doing this on a little bit different because I want to ask this question: why it's been so long before a ghost story is told about it. But there's better videos out there on the history of this as well. So, you know, you can click off now and go and have a look, or you can keep listening to me talking about it. But I'm genuinely interested in this place, which I think is a little bit different to some of them. A lot of them have gone there to do investigations, and I think things get a little bit warped on investigations. But we also have reports in room 4, again, of maybe the tricorn hat sitting on the bay window or by the bay window, that people have woken up and seen sitting there. Again, this is a common report that's gone back to the staff, and the last report was in 2016. So again, it's quite a recent event. I'm not going to say I'm doubting all the ghost reports since it became really, really popular, but I am keeping in mind that Most Haunted did do a investigation down there, and the reports did increase after that investigation. And this is our thing about people going there with the mindset that the place is haunted and maybe the imagination carries away with them. But I'm going to just say a little bit about my trip down there. Me and my wife were travelling through Cornwall, and we just done a booking.com thing, and we got Jamaica Inn, and we stayed there that night. I was very excited about going there. We pulled up, it was quite late. It looked spooky from the outside. Driving up to it looked spooky. You go in there, it's generally old. Now, I don't think it did surprise me. It's only built in 1776. My pubs are older than that round here. So for me, it felt old, but not ancient old. No, it's not like the Bell Inn or something like that, where no, it's really old. I mean, I think some of the hot cross buns in the Bell Inn are older than the Jamaica Inn. So, and that's not a joke. They actually have got old hot cross buns hanging up in the Bell Inn. That the oldest person that lives there in Horndon puts a hot cross bun up on a bit of string and it stays there in the pub. Yeah, go and have a look. It's fantastic. If you like hot cross buns. Mouldy ones, that is. But yeah, Jamaica Inn, so we stayed there. I did have a bit of an issue with the food. I've got a nut allergy, and apparently no food there was safe for me to eat. But They agreed to do me some chips, as long as I didn't sue them if anything happened to me. But we were in the new part, and I set up some cameras on the outside and in the corridors of the inn itself. Done a bit of filming, didn't tell anyone I was doing it, but I just left the camera running. Didn't pick up on anything, and we settled down for a decent night's sleep. About 3 o'clock in the morning, we heard a rumble. Now, it wasn't thunder, it wasn't lightning. It was sounding like something was rolling across the cobbles. Then all the dogs were barking. Now, this part of the inn we're in is dog friendly. Once one dog started, they all started. 3 o'clock in the morning, all the dogs are going crazy, and in the background you could hear this rolling noise. Now, apparently one of the ghosts that haunts it likes to roll barrels across the cobbles outside. I didn't know this till after. Talking to the staff the next day, and I said, "Oh, that was really loud with the dogs last night." And I said, "And there was a noise going on." They went, "Oh yeah, it's probably one of the ghosts rolling the barrels across the cobbles." I thought I was just joking, but after going away, looking it up, apparently it's a real report that there are still meant to be ghosts that move barrels around in Jamaica Inn on the outside when they were loading up the old wagons, and apparently that replays itself. But while I was there, I did the next day talk to a member of staff about the rest of the ghost stories. They said to me again about room 5. Now, room 5 is something I spoke about already. Room 5, there's meant to be a ghost there of the name of Hannah. Now, what the gentleman told me was that what he believed and what a local historian in Cornwall told him, Hannah had been taken to the inn as a captive of a smuggler, and she was kept in that room, and we don't know what happened to her. Her spirit is said to haunt that room. But also that there's been footprints found in that room, wet children's footprints. Now, I don't get an age for Hannah. Now, was she a child? Was she a teenager? Again, if you can fill this in, if you're from the area or you researched this stuff and you found a bit more information than me, just let me know how old Hannah was, and could these footprints be of her? Now, one of the common complaints is people who stay in that room have gone and complained to the staff members that the shower or the bath has been used because they've got children's wet footprints across the floor, and they assure them that it's not. But I don't know how often they tell them that it may be a ghost, because that may put them off. Then again, when you do book for the Jamaica Inn, it does come up one of the most haunted inns in the country. But one of the other things that the staff member was talking about was that how many more ghost reports they get now compared to what there used to be. And again, this can come about because of public interest and TV shows like Most Haunted, and people like me who do reports on stuff, put videos out there, people see it, they go there expecting to see something, and their minds can play tricks on them. One of the comments that you've made on my videos is that with so much CCTV now, why don't we capture more ghosts on video? Why don't we see more things? But to answer that is a really tricky question, because one, you're assuming that ghosts are real, or that we do physically see them. Now, I do remember someone saying that maybe ghosts are real, but we can only see them from our own minds. Now, I'll try and find the link, and I'll put the link on here. There's meant to be poltergeist activity in Jamaica Inn. And there's a video online of a gentleman who puts his beer down and the beer slides off and falls on the table. And you can look that up on the internet. I think it's poltergeist activity in Jamaica Inn. Make your own mind up on it, but for me, I've been in pubs where we put a glass down the table and either the glass is cold or something's warm and it traps air under it and it slides, and it can do that naturally. And that is why I believe a lot of these glasses sliding off of bars is. I think that is the answer to that. I'm not going to say that it's the answer to everything. The people out there, and I've met many people out there, that will say a glass has been thrown from the bar. They're standing there and a glass lifts up and shoots across the bar at them. Now, that can't just happen with air and bubbles slide under a glass. So there's that evidence to it. But when we come to the Jamaica Inn itself, how old it is, You don't know if all the flooring's straight or bars are straight. They do move about, and I know like the belling up at Horndon at one point, apparently pints used to slip off there. The landlady up there at the time told me, I said the pints slide off because the bar slides that way. So again, there can be natural explanations for it. Now the other thing about Jamaica Inn is the remoteness of it. And on the night that I was there, I walked back up the field and stood back and looked down on Jamaica Inn. And it is shut off. There is a few houses around there now, but you can imagine back in the 18th century that it was desolate. No, this is inn on its own. And it'd been the perfect place for smugglers to come up with that were travelling unsafe roads, and knowing they'd been hunted down by the King's men at the time, yeah, it was the perfect choice for them. And you can imagine all the sort of the history and the deals that went on at the inn that couldn't leave an imprint on a place like that. Now, one of the last ghosts I want to talk about is said to be the most seen ghost at Jamaica Inn. And that is an old smuggler that is seen sitting by the old original fireplace in the bar area. Now, I surprisingly, for the most seen person, I can't see much reports about it. But talking to staff there, they turn around and say that they'd often see the gentleman there at the corner of their eye. And they think there'd be someone left in the bar, and they'll turn around and there's no one there. But at the corner of the eye, they've seen the gentleman sitting there, and they've turned around and they've gone. On another occasion, a gentleman bumped into the table and went to apologise to the gentleman he'd seen sitting there, and he looked and there was no one there at all. What I will say about Jamaica Inn is that the setup definitely plays into the mind games that a place like that can have. It's got old sort of waxworks of the figures of smugglers there. It's got a writing room of Daphne Moray's writing room. And yes, it plays on, it tells you the history. But if you want to believe in the ghost side of it, there's plenty of stuff there for you. And I did have a little snigger to myself. There's some chains in the corridor that Derek Okora said that someone met their ends or no good with those chains. And the inn have put a little plaque up stating that there. And I thought it was a nice touch. You know, I do like places that promote the ghost side of their property. You know, there's some that won't or hide the history of their place if it's to do with ghosts, because it feels like they're going to put people off. And yeah, I'm just thinking about the house that I'm not allowed to mention. I'll find a way of doing it eventually. But Jamaica Inn has all the recipe for a great haunted location. It does look eerie. You know, when the moon's coming above the inn of the night time and the mist is rolling in, it does look spooky. And no wonder you've got these great tales coming from it. Now, what a wonderful place to sit there at night time in the middle of the moors telling ghost stories. It's just fantastic. So just like another one that to add to it, there are reports, and this is more locally, the road approaching Jamaica Inn, that a horse and carriage is seen on the side. The horse is laying down and the coach is on its side, and there's a gentleman standing there and he looks in a bit of a panic, and when people get out, the vision vanishes. Other people say they see a young girl running down the road, and when they slow down again she disappears. But again, I still want your opinion on why all over the country we've got ghost reports going back hundreds and hundreds of years. Jamaica Inn only started getting ghost reports from 1911. If you know any earlier ones than that, let me know, because I'm really puzzled by it. Then I think every location I've ever covered, the history of the ghost report. Take Epping Forest. People have turned around and said, oh, I've not heard anything about Epping Forest, I've not heard any ghosts there. Well, mate, it's your history. Epping Forest is steeped in this history, and Dick Turpin's ghost has been written about for hundreds of years about Epping Forest. Yeah, I'm just puzzled. 1911, first ghost story, gentleman sitting on a wall, seen by a lot of people tried to interact with him, and he ignored them and then vanished. And you know, it must have been quite a big stir because it ended up in the newspapers. And is it that that was the trigger? After that, did everybody start seeing a ghost there? Before that, were people too worried about telling people what they see? Now, we'd already had a lot of stuff back in the late 19th century of Conan Doyle, who popularised things like fairies at the bottom of the garden and all this sort of stuff. So it wasn't a new concept. It's just a very strange thing that we don't get many reports before that time at this location. Anyway, this is more a video about my passion about Jamaica Inn and the unanswered questions I have about it, and sort of reaching out to you to try and fill me in with some more information on it, because I say I had a lovely time there. It was definitely weird that what we heard, and we can't explain it, the dogs barking, and we definitely heard that noise of a barrel rolling down outside over the cobbles, which again was very, very strange. But anyway, waffled on way too long. Thank you again for your support. Thank you for your messages. And please just remember to hit that bell if you do subscribe. I'll see you in a new video pretty soon. Thank you. Bye.